Welcome back to Hot Take for myself, Terry Fleurs, and of course, Mr. Mark Goldbridge. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. Big week in football, European nights. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes, huge European nights. The next 3 nights, we're going to see some interesting games, some brilliant reactions from a fan perspective as well. Loads to talk about today. Some interesting clips, some tweets for Mark and I to review, to give our opinions on. But as importantly, we want to get your opinions and your views on this as well. But make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing as well, and you've shared this stream across your social media platforms. The clip I'm going to start with this week, is from Monday Night Football last night, and it's Thierry Henry talking with Jamie Carragher about Lenny Yoro. Let's take a look.
Please stay on Yoro and what he's asking for. Pause. I don't know why. I don't know what he's looking at. But what are you looking? You're looking at the linesman, trying to see if he's going to bail you out on what? I don't know. I don't know if he thought there was an offside. I don't know if he thought that someone. We all don't know. I don't know what is. We all know it's a goal. What are you looking at? I actually don't know. I don't know. I've never seen that before.
Understanding the game, maybe. I don't know. You're right. He's looking at the linesman for a long time.
We all know it's a goal.
Of course.
What do you make of this? And I will add some context before we go forward, before anybody thinks we're hating. Sky have deleted it off every single platform. Just to put it out there, Sky have deleted this bit of content. So the only way you can see it is if you recorded Monday Night Football. It's basically been scrapped off social media today. But what do you make of what he said there?
Well, first of all, I think I hadn't heard the Carragher bit, but I think Carragher bottles that. Yeah, he's looking at the ref. He's looking at the linesman for a long time. He literally goes, it's that. He looks at the linesman and then looks that way. It's a second. So he's not looking at him for a long time. So Carragher's bottled it again in front of somebody he obviously is scared of, because what Henry's doing is trying to find another meme. It's like when he touched Carragher's leg, doing this whole. I'm glad they've deleted it. It's embarrassing. It's reaching for content and views, and it's backfired because you can't script this sort of stuff, as we know. It's a terrible take on a terrible bit of analysis on an irrelevance, because basically I've watched it loads, and Yoro goal goes in, looks to the linesman, looks that way. Why does he look at the linesman? He probably doesn't know himself. It's probably just like, we've just conceded the third goal. We're playing absolutely shit. Where do I look? It's not even that deep. And I thought, there's so much to analyze in football. Like, there's so much going wrong with the game. And we're going after a 19-year-old who's actually doing a good job at Man United. For what? For clicks and views? I thought it was poor. I think Carragher tweeted it and deleted it. And you know what? I think the reaction to it is why I like football, because fans just won't take this nonsense anymore. They think if they can put a pair of white trainers on and go on Monday Night Football, everyone's going to knock one out. And, they want knocking out for that. It was a terrible take.
Do you know what's interesting? You're always going to have your trolls, but actually I saw a lot of Spurs. I saw Liverpool. I saw
Arsenal.
City fans call it out. Arsenal as well were the ones that I wasn't surprised to see Arsenal fans, because Arsenal in the last 3 or 4 years have had so much terrible punditry about their football club. I wasn't surprised to see many come out, but because it was their greatest ever player, I always wonder, will they just stay silent because it's Henry and they love him? But the vast majority of Arsenal fans that I follow just came out and said, what are you talking about? And there's a comment here from No Comment FIFA that says, just an FYI, guys, Yoro is looking at the ref expecting a foul on Maz. And do you know what's interesting? In real time, at ground level on a pitch, that makes sense. Are they looking to see whether Maz was fouled?
He's not looking for offside, is he?
No,
he's definitely not looking for offside.
I think defenders almost, there's like an instinct to look. Most strikers score goals and look over at linesmen in certain scenarios. It was just the weirdest bit of analysis, honestly, that I've seen in a long time. There were defensive issues for United at the weekend. Delap offering Livramento the inside, Lindelof getting sold on the pass into Isak for the first goal, the passing out from the back from Bayendere. These things existed. These things happened. We called them out. Lenny Yoro wasn't really a defensive issue for Man United, but yet Sky have had to try and find a new young player to target and to put a red flag to the ball, put a target upon his back. I just thought it was low, again, for a channel that, if you're in England, by the way, people, if any of you watching internationally, to have all the Sky Sports packages, you're looking at over £100 a month. It's a lot of money for a subscription when you consider Amazon, like Prime, is £79 for the year. That gets you next day deliveries, TV, everything. Netflix is what, £6-7 a month. Sky is hundreds, over the £100 mark for their total package. And that is the low rent content they are creating. No wonder the mainstream media is dying. What they did there was what I expect from TikTokers, even YouTubers to a degree. If you're bantering a mate, you have a little bit of a joke. I don't expect that from one of the greatest footballers to ever grace the Premier League and the mainstream media. It is wrong and it's a disgrace, in my opinion. I'm so glad that football yesterday came together and shut it down. I thought it was very, very good to see.
The only thing I would say is, having worked in that industry and know how it works, when we do this, we have a chat about the clips we want to do. You work on Sky or the radio station that should not be named. They have conversations hours before. And I guarantee you, Thierry Henry did not walk into Monday Night Football and say, I want to talk about that Lenny Yoro thing. I think they'll have been given a load of stuff hours before and known what they're going to talk about. And that's what makes it even worse. It's not like, it's not like Thierry Henry's walked in and gone, can we just get, I've just had a thought, let's get this clip up. They know that. That's produced content. That's probably been rehearsed as well. So that was what makes it even more, is that's the level of producing on the premier UK sports channel now. But as I've said before, they're living off the fact that they're in a fortuitous position where they actually have the Premier League rights. Because I actually think that if I was the Premier League, or I was NBC, or Paramount or CBS or ESPN or Sky or TNT, I'll be looking at this and going, I want these people talking about the Premier League with the audiences they've got, because it's bringing more conversation and integrity. This is what's happening now. You give idiots the rights and you end up with idiotic analysis. And we talk about it every week. There's never any scrutiny about the PGMOL. I woke up this morning, I can't believe there's no conversation about the red card that Bournemouth should have got, or the penalty that Bournemouth should have got in the second half, because it's all we hear is Michael Oliver's the best referee in the country and he's going to the Club World Cup. He's crap. But we're talking about Yoro and Henry when there's real conversations to be had.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally agree. I think the mainstream's a shambles, and people will often go, but you guys banter and you guys, we're fan content. And this is why for a while you had fan content, which is what we do. Some people are good at it, some people bad at it, but there's something for everybody. And then there was the mainstream media, and I liked the difference. It's, for me, the mainstream was more about you could have education within the fan community, where some people are very there are some people who do fans that made content that were very mainstream, but then when you look into them, they're almost studying and training to be presenters anyway, if that made sense. I always felt there was a nice space for both. But what I see more and more from the mainstream is them trying to be content creators. And it isn't trying to gatekeep who can and can't be a content creator. It's more about, but I want genuine insight from you. I was listening to Roy Keane the other day talk, and everything is, well, there's just not enough. They don't give enough, this team. They're bluffers, this team. They don't know what it takes to be a Man United player. Where's the insight on that? That's just words. Like, give us the insight. What does Amorim or Ineos need to do to create that? Is it just, is it as simple as just buy new people? What was it that, you were a manager as well, Roy. What did you do in your dressing rooms to create that environment? What do you do? We can't answer those questions in the first person as fans because we're not from that world. But they just talk in almost riddles nowadays, if that makes sense. No insight at all.
Well, it's like what Trapster says. Most pundits just peddle blind idealism. And I think this is it. There are no solutions in a lot of what these people do, like Terry says. Like, if I'm doing this show now, there's a lot of people just laughing at the fact that Yoro's shit, United is shit. Look, Lindelof is absolutely at blame for that goal, in my opinion. Not Yoro. But look, we are rubbish. We could finish 17th. Like, we could finish we're basically relegated because there is no relegation. The championship clubs, I don't even count them. So United could finish bottom of the league in my mind by finishing 17th. That's horrific. But I agree with Terry. Like, you know, Nicky Butt said the players aren't trying. I think I disagree. Gary Neville spoke about the system. Oh, how many times are you going to do that on mainstream and get paid millions of pounds for it? Roy Keane talks about in his day, you know, and these players are just lying. Okay, I agree with all three of those points, but tell me the solution, because I don't necessarily agree with all those points. But yes, United are shit. We all agree with that. What's the solution? You've got certain people saying sack Amorim now. Okay, and what next? Is Xavi going to come in with his apron and cook? Because Amorim was cooking 5 months ago. Like, no, there's all this, you know, sensationalist opinion. But actually, we were saying on the United Stand yesterday, just get in the comments and tell us what you would do, because there is no quick solution. We are shit. We deserve the criticism from Arsenal fans, Newcastle fans, and the banter. We're shit. We are 14th. We could be 17th. We're absolutely terrible. But how's about Newcastle Arsenal fans? You're interested in laughing at us. What would you do? You know, we own the fact that we're crap. What do you think we need to do? Because I look at it and go, we need 10 players. We need 10 players, experienced players. Without talking about the financials, we brought a manager in that stylistically at Arsenal or Newcastle would do a good job because you've got good players. But at United, he hasn't got the players. So, yeah. Oh, in my day, all the players aren't trying. Oh, we need to change the system. None of these things actually mean anything. What let's have a conversation about the real problem.
Yeah, break it down. And do you know what it is as well? One thing I would say about United's players in recent weeks, we haven't actually lost too many games, a lot of draws. We were comfortably beaten by Newcastle, a lot of mistakes. But the one thing I would say, and I noticed it under Ollie, and I saw it at times with Ten Hag, and I definitely saw it in that final 6 months of Jose, I didn't see the players not trying. What I saw a lot on Sunday was players trying to get to the ball, but Newcastle players are just bigger, stronger, quicker. And there's nothing Amorim can do in training to stop that happening. And what the mainstream have done, and you do get fans that do this, they come out, everything is sort of very short-termism. So a lot of people I'm seeing that are already turning on Amorim. Some didn't want him in the beginning, so I kind of give them a bit of a leeway on this because they explain why they don't like the system, the way he wants to play. And I think that's fair because that's stylistic and they don't think it works. But it's the ones that have gone from, I can't wait for him to cook, to we should sack him already. And yes, they're focusing on the results, but they're ignoring one really, really important thing, Mark, for me. And I wrote a bit of I don't really write articles too often, but I wrote a little piece yesterday about one part of the United culture that I think he's already addressed and fixed, is the not bending over backwards and adapting to the players. When you look at Jose, Ollie, Ten Hag, the last three permanent managers, they all started by adapting to the players. And then at some point, it could be 6 months, a year, 2 years in, they tried to inject more of their ideas and change things. And they all ended up getting results like we've had in the past 5 months. The difference this time round, which is what gives me, and people will call it hope, again, the buzzwords from fans, hopium and copium, is, well, we've gone about it a different way. Rather than adjusting, getting that new manager bounce that people are demanding, getting a little bit of a feel-good factor, and then going through this pain later on down the line, we're starting out with it. And Ruben told us this is what was going to happen. I don't know about you, Mark. I didn't believe it. When he sort of said we're going to suffer for months, we're going to get... one of his actual quotes was, this team... He said, we will get exposed on a number of occasions. We will get found out on a number of occasions. I thought he was being a little modest. Turns out he was telling us the complete gospel truth, that to change everything at this club, footballing wise, in the middle of a season, it's going to expose everything to the nth degree. So that's why I don't understand why certain Man United fans are so triggered. I'm not happy with the results, you know, and I'm annoyed with the goals we conceded. But at the same time, everything that's happening is what was promised to us by this manager. All I'm holding him to account on is that he said in a year's time, from when he first said this in December, you will see a much, much improved team. So I'm just giving him that time. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to not give him a little bit more time, Mark.
Goes back to the Yoro Henry thing, doesn't it? People want instant gratification and credibility and virality now. They want to script it now. And, you know, United lost to Newcastle. We knew we were going to lose. Newcastle are better than us. We knew we were going to lose. Win on Thursday. Everything's happy again. Arsenal, at the moment, Arteta, build a statue. Real Madrid, goes wrong on Wednesday, Arteta out. You know, it's just the way football is. It is. And I hope that doesn't happen, but there's people in the Arsenal fan base waiting for the, you know, I told you so, Arteta out. And there's people in the United fan base who, you know, just negatively want to be negative about everything because that's their sort of niche. And I think the mainstream media falls into that. They just follow the negativity a lot of the time.
I hear that. So I did see this actually. This account here is the United account, said no shade on Ruben Amorim, but Xavi would work magic with this current Man United team. Xavi is still available.
Don't do drugs, kids. Fucking hell, how many pints is he at? I mean, so I watch Man United and I see people shooting consistently from 35 yards and missing. I see people consistently not able to play a 5-yard pass, not able to mark people, can't score set pieces, you know, can't do the basics because they're not good enough. But actually, it's all Amorim doing that. So bring Xavi in and, bring Xavi in and Garnacho will turn into Yamal and Rasmus will turn into Lewandowski and Mainu will turn into Pedri. And, we'll be cooking. Yeah. It's just, it's scary people have that level of analysis after 10 years of United being absolutely shite.
It's the cycle, isn't it, Mark? It's I back the new manager, the players are the problem, get new players. This manager's a fraud because the players are good enough. Sack this manager. I back the new manager, the players are good enough. The players let him down. The manager needs time. Actually, he's a fraud. The players are good enough. And you're seeing it even now in the live comments. I'd take Xavi, get us playing better football. You've got to understand this. And there's a comment actually that came in saying, Terry, given how the season has transpired, in hindsight, would you have kept Ten Hag? No, for the exact reasons I'm explaining. My deepest reasoning for wanting Ten Hag gone is the day he said 2 years in, I could never implement my style. After 6 months to 7 months prior saying, I've implemented some of it, but not all of it yet. I need the players. The reason why I wanted to move on has nothing to do with Ten Hag's ability as a coach or his personality or anything. It was everything to do with the fact that you need to instill the way Man United don't have a style of play or haven't had one for 12 years. We need a coach to come in and implement it from the beginning. I saw more analysis yesterday of Jamie Carragher saying, well, the way for the first goal where Lindelof steps out to receive the ball, he's like, Lindelof won't want to receive the ball there. He isn't comfortable receiving the ball there. It's madness to make him play that way. It isn't. Managers now, whether people like it or not, it's the way most of the top coaches in the world operate, is they have a system and a way of operating. Regardless of the personnel on the pitch, they demand you play in a particular way. They believe, and there's been great results from this, like Jurgen Klopp as an example, Pep's the standout example, and many others. You implement the system, everybody learns how to play it, and then you keep adding better players to that system, and it starts to cook. The idea that, again, the media are telling us is to adapt to the players in the short term and then try to implement a style in 2 years, 3 years when you built your squad. Again, I need someone to show me where that has worked. I need someone to show me where that model was worked. And that's the problem with a lot of these conversations. I'm not even challenging your view. We had a guy that come on our show called Staffy, really good guy. He's an Egyptian-American guy. And he's been on a few podcasts the last few days defending Amorim. And all the stuff that's getting thrown at him, he just goes, well, show me examples in football where what you're asking for has worked. And they just get angry and try and take the conversation in another direction. It's, well, that's a really good thing to ask someone. Give me the examples around what you're asking for working. And that is the element for me that I find worrying. There was another bit of footage I want to play, though, because I don't understand. Like, for me, I saw this over the weekend, Mark, and I couldn't believe he was blaming the water.
Watered this pitch needs fucking sacking. It's April. It hasn't rained in 2 weeks in the UK, and that pitch is like a bloody pond. There needs to be rules about this. There does need to be rules about this. In my defense, what I was really worried about was not losing the game. I was just like, we haven't had any rain. Why are we watering pitch? Like, the players were sliding all over the place. And I was like, Xerxes out now for weeks. I actually do think, on a serious note, there should be some investigations into how much pitches get watered, because it is an injury risk, and players were slipping. I mean, obviously Mazraoui slipped on the goal, didn't he? But I couldn't give a toss about the result, to be honest. But what I was worried about is injuries. And I do think that, sometimes people take the piss a little bit with that. But just going back to what we were talking about, Taylor says, keep the same energy next season when the results are no better. He'll be gone for Christmas unless he adapts to what he's got. But mate, you're judging a manager on a calendar there. Like that's just terrible, in my opinion, because if Jurgen Klopp had gone into Liverpool and not been given players, he wouldn't be successful. So you're basically saying this manager needs to fix up with what he's got. That's not really historically, like Terry says. Show me examples where that's worked. All right, it might work at Everton. David Moyes go in and firefight with what you've got. But Man City, no. Chelsea, no. Liverpool, no. Arsenal, no. Man United in the past, no. This is not the way to run a top 6 club. Go in there and crack on with what you've got. So you might be right, but exactly. I won't change my opinion. I will not change my opinion until he's given players. He cannot be judged on Ten Hag players.
No, absolutely, and it's the club is telling us that what they're building philosophy wise on the football is going to outlive Amorim as well. So you've got to give it time.
I've got to say this, Lyle. This is the sort of shit that makes me really, really laugh. Slot bought one player for 30 million and won the league. Oh, mate. Okay. So you know what? The next door neighbour's having lasagna. I'm going to go and have it. It's got nothing to do with me what the neighbours are doing. It's a different fucking house.
Do you know,
Liverpool nearly won the league last year with Klopp. You can't compare the two. And that's a team that Klopp built over 6 years.
This is exactly it, right? This is, when one of the young Kardashian Jenner kids, oh my God, she's become a billionaire, self-made billionaire. I'm like, I wouldn't call a young Kardashian becoming a billionaire self-made based on the fact they already had a net worth of hundreds of millions. The family was worth billions. They have all the access and the sort of the media connections to be able to grow a product. I don't consider that the same thing as some bloke starting a business in his garage or some woman starting a cosmetic company in her garage, selling it to her friends at the weekends, in 10 years becoming a billionaire. You can't compare a squad that was in a title race last year that won trophies, that had invariably been in title races, that had got players in it that are some of the greatest in their club's generation. You can't compare a club that's been well run by and large for over a decade, bringing in a new head coach to manage a fantastic squad. You can't compare that to 12-year demise of Man United, because even when Jurgen Klopp took over, it took 2 or 3 years to get them into title challenging levels. If Klopp took over within the first year of FSG buying the club, he would not have had the results as quickly as he did, because more would needed to have been fixed. And if you could say we're propagandists for Ineos, Mark more so than me has criticized Ineos as much as anybody else out there. So that's just a crazy thing to say. Some super chats here, actually. First one says, I think it was 2 years ago, Tel, I said you had to go through similar process to Arsenal, but I don't feel you even started it properly yet. It's a long way back. I'm hoping my boys can hold nerve tomorrow. Jason, you're spot on. And the mistake we made was, and look, the ownership have admitted this, we shouldn't have kept Ten Hag. We should have started what we've done with Ruben in the summer, the players, the philosophy, everything. The one thing I like is that we've opened up and admitted that we've made that mistake as a football club. We can kind of wipe our mouths and move on from it there, but it's still going to take years. You're spot on. It was never going to be fixed in the first year at United. United's issue is very deep because the common denominator is the board, Ineos included, because they basically showed you how useless they are as well. Nothing will change until the board changes or gets it right. That's what it's about. It's not making the same mistakes. You're spot on. Patrick Lynch says Henry used his hand to help France score a goal so they could qualify for the World Cup. That would set a precedent for any defender to always check with the ref and the linesman on the goal for me. To say, you Irish Patrick Lynch by any chance? Euros being spent called Patrick? Maybe you are, and I get why you'd still be annoyed about that. When Ruben's putting in the goalkeeper coach that he can play before Rashford, also who has been worse this season, Onana at the back or Rasmus up front? Are we still doing Rashford prop at Man United? Are we still doing that? Are we still seeing that, Mark? Come on now. Like, Rashford was terrible for us for the last 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, I think as well, when you think about things are always going to get worse when one of the first things you do is get rid of Anthony and Rashford in a January transfer window, and you don't replace them. I mean, that almost was an admission that things were going to get worse, because whatever you think about them, they still would have been two attacking players that, you know, we look at our bench sometime and we haven't got players. I agree with getting rid of those players, by the way. That's what a manager should be able to do, but they weren't replaced. So, you know, look, judge Amorim when he gets the players. It's just so logical to me. And sacking him before he gets them is just the biggest idiot take I've seen this season, really.
Yeah, I think it would be very, very premature to do it. And I think we're going to be I think we'll be a much, much better team this year. I think people, and I don't even think people are going to be shocked. I actually think a lot of rivals can see what he's trying to do. We just don't have the personnel, the players to do it. If we have a good window, and we need that good window, I think we'll be a vastly superior team. We deserve to get beat by Newcastle. But if you go back to previous games, if you think, forget Europe, if you just think about the City game, Forest away, Tottenham, Arsenal, some really big games recently. The difference between us drawing and losing some of those games is people putting the ball in the back of the net at the other end. If we had our shooting boots on in those games, if we had some decent attackers, I think we win those games. If you look at the games, by and large, we had the better chances, the majority of the big chances. We just lack clinical edge. And for that to be ignored, I find it a very disingenuous take. Expressionless here says, a devil's advocate, I'm not a Spurs fan, but how about Ange and how he doesn't adapt to his players and high line for life? What's worse, not adapting and losing, or sticking to your game plan and losing?
I think that this is where the blame is not with the manager and it's with the owners. If you look at United, you go from Ten Hag to Amorim in November on vibes. Like, you know, did they not realize that this is a completely different style of play, that if you're not going to get players in quickly, problems are going to happen? And also at Spurs, you bring Ange in with a style of play. I don't think it's fair for fans, the media, or even clubs to go, could you change your style of play, please? Because if I was a manager, I'd go, up yours. You know, you knew what you were getting in. We had a conversation, and at no point was it, if results go bad, start playing like Southgate. Sack me, pay me off, and bring Southgate in, because I ain't changing my style of play. Give me the players to play the way. I think sometimes, look at Vincent Kompany. He gets relegated embarrassingly for Burnley and gets the Bayern Munich job because he has a philosophy. And we live in an era now where people like Russell Martin retain credibility because he played a certain way, even though they were absolutely awful. So managers don't. It always makes me laugh when you get these ex-players saying, you know, it's the system. He needs to change the system. It's actually to a manager's benefit to not change their system and have an identity and sort of like go, I got the sack because those players weren't good enough. Changing your system, I think, is a bad thing to do because it shows weakness. Yeah. It shows that managers are brands themselves basically now. You know, it's like Ronaldo saying, I'm going to play centre back. He's not a centre back, is he? So, well, I don't think Ange should change his formation. Yeah. I don't. It's like you accepting
crap thumbnails because the person you employ to make thumbnails is crap at them.
Yeah,
it's where I would say in football, I'd say this though is Amorim hasn't changed his style of football. What he does do is he adapts to the opponents that are in front of him. That's what I think is important to do. So if you're Spurs and you play a high line, but you're up against a team like Real Madrid, who have got ridiculous pace on the break, I think you can adjust the way you play that game and sit a little bit deeper, but still have the same philosophy of play. That is what I think managers should do, because you're not always going to have the best team, the fastest team. And when Amorim gets labelled with that, I think, well, if you've not watched the difference in how we play home on Thursday versus Lyon, will not look how we did when we went away to Liverpool back in January. So I think you can adapt based on your opponent, but that doesn't mean you abandon your footballing philosophy, your drills, the shapes, the way you want to pass and move the ball. So I think both can exist in the world of football. Liam says, we all know we're shit, but it still doesn't change the fact that we're not signing experienced players. Yeah, look, we'll see. I think we'll see in the summer on that one. I'm a bit like yourself, Mark. I like some of the youngsters we're linked to, but we definitely need some experience as well. So, yeah, look, it's watch this space on that one, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the coming days and weeks. Yes, I'm Irish Terry and absolutely bitter. look, a lot of my family are Irish. My son is Irish. They are still. I speak to my Irish family a lot, and they're still angry about it now. So I am not surprised to hear that at all. Another clip for everybody now, but make sure you hit the like button and make sure you are subscribing. This is Jamie Carragher talking about the problems at Chelsea. Let's take a look.
Cole Palmer to higher up and keep an eye on the goalkeeper, but just listen to the noise in the crowd. That's because they don't want them to play out from the back. You see the goalkeeper urging everybody up, and actually at one stage he's telling the crowd to calm down. So he's been really influenced by the crowd. So he said push up, and then another chant starts in the crowd. Attack, attack, attack.
Got to blur it for the footage. You never know this guy.
But what Maresca's talking about is this is a team who are not used to going direct, right? So the first thing does, the goalkeeper puts it on the head of Burgess for Ipswich, the best header of the ball in their defence, 6'3". So that's a mistake. Then the positional play of the players around it, again, not used to maybe going long from a goal kick. Fernandez in the wrong position here with the Ipswich player behind him. And Chalobah's position is absolutely ridiculous for a player at this level. Now, if I said to you, where's he playing? I'd say Chalobah's playing as a centre-back in a back four, and the right-back is getting treatment. He's off the pitch. He's actually a right-back in a back four. There's your left-back, centre-back, centre-back, right-back. That is just ridiculous, that position, as I said, he finds himself in. So they're not set up to do it. Ipswich win the header, and then before you know, because of the positional play, the set-up, huge space here, in behind Chalobah, and it finishes with Ben Johnson scoring at the back post and putting 2-0 up. And again, it all just smacks again from the disconnection from the supporters onto the pitch. Look at Fernandez, look at Caicedo. They're screaming at the goalkeeper. Don't be influenced by the crowd. Don't be influenced by it. We keep playing the way we do. But that's right. You shouldn't get influenced by the crowd or just do what the crowd say. But what it tells you is there is no connection between that Chelsea supporters or the man in the dugout.
Well, interesting take there. He sort of. What do you make of what Carragher's saying here? We know Chelsea are under a lot of pressure. They're sort of dropping down in the league. They're struggling to win games. A lot of the fans aren't happy with how they play. But Carragher here really talking about connections between Maresca and the crowd. The crowd that want Maresca ball. Maresca's ignoring them. What's your thoughts when you hear that, mate?
I mean, it's not exclusive to Carragher. I mean, there's people who do it on YouTube, TikTok. I do think that, and look, it might be a hot take, it might be a minority take, but I do think sometimes we try and be really clever about football when football's really simple. Like, you know, there is 100 minutes of football in a game, and we take 20 seconds and go, this is the big play. And you could give me 2 minutes of football and I could find you 10 examples of stuff like that. So I don't think it's that deep, really. I'd like to know if Chalobah was right back, because that looks to me like a 3 centre-back system with 2 full-backs. But I'd bow down to Carragher's knowledge on that. It didn't look like a back four where Chalobah's playing at right back to me. That looks like they're playing a 3 centre-back system there. But anyway, I think that I don't think a goalkeeper is getting influenced by the crowd, and I don't think a manager would let that happen. I think that is just a natural play that Chelsea have decided to do. And actually, I don't mind that. I don't mind a goalkeeper going long. I mean, what are we trying to say here? He should play out from the back and ignore the crowd. Like, I think fans are fed up of playing out from the back. Like, Man United were doing it at the weekend. Everybody's obsessed with it. I don't mind teams that want to mix it up as well. But ultimately, I think scrutinising these individual little bits of play, you're missing 99% of the rest of the game as well. And we're meant to believe that that's the problem with Chelsea, and I don't think it is.
Yeah, look, I get that. I think it's important. I actually think it's important to mix it up a little bit. We've even heard Pep recently speak about how going long has become popular in football again. And you always see these trends in football because defenders will go for a long period where barely anybody's getting long. So suddenly, especially for a good team with fast players, strong players, suddenly you start knocking balls in long and it really catches defenders off. I remember there was a time where it had been a long while since any team had really played with 2 strikers. And then every now and then you'll see a team do it and the centre-backs can't cope. And they can't cope because suddenly they're being pulled in multiple directions by 2 players. And this is all that's kind of going on now. I get why the fans are upset and angry. at the same time, Maresca has got a style of play, and playing out from the back is a very key component. And I think he's right to do it, even when he doesn't have the right quality, because you have to instill those principles so that as you're adding better players, you're not kind of, again, starting from scratch again. And I think that's a really important part for Chelsea this summer. Like with Man United, their recruitment is so key, because I look at them falling off at the minute. The most big chances missed in the league. Their conversion rate of their chances is at 7%. Only Southampton at 3.3% have got a lower conversion rate this season than Chelsea. And then you look at some of the mistakes defensively, especially on the ball from the goalkeeper. The thing with that is I don't think there's much Maresca can do to coach those problems out. I don't think you could bring Pep and Klopp as the managers. Well, we know what Pep's going to do, because we saw it twice at City in his first 2 years. He's just going to keep upgrading his goalkeeper. And I think, we said earlier about managers should persevere and not buy new players. Well, Pep's often heralded as the greatest of his generation, maybe the greatest of all time. And I think he's up there. But he wouldn't persevere for 3-4 years with a striker that isn't good enough, a goalie that isn't good enough, a DM that isn't good enough. He would go out like he did this January just gone and drop 200 million on new players. This summer, 200 to 300 million on new players. First year he arrived, loads of money spent. Second year he was in the club, loads of money spent. And there's no issue with that. Fergie spent money. Liverpool in the 70s and 80s, comparatively, the money was lower then, spent money. All the most successful teams in history, outside of you get the occasional example of a team like a Leicester that'll have a really good year or so. But by and large, the teams that have multiple years of continued success spend money. And I think for me, as you say, there is an element of overanalyzing, but actually, you can boil it down to this. They just need better players. Chalobah isn't good enough. I think Chelsea know that. That's why they loaned him out. Sanchez isn't good enough as an example. And the team just needs more experience. I still look at that Chelsea team and think very good technical players, talent here and there, but they lack leaders on the pitch. And we know this because we were old enough to remember great Man United teams, great Chelsea teams. It's ironic when you look at Arsenal. The Arsenal teams we grew up hating as United fans, when they went off the boil for all those years, the lack of leadership was a thing. Now you look at Arsenal and they've got more and more leaders on the pitch. And I think you look at City at their pomp under Pep. How many captains and international captains legitimately did they have in their team? Loads of them. And that's what Chelsea need the most for me. They really do need experience this summer.
It's interesting because, like, when we were talking about Man United, I was reading a live chat and people were like going, I'm an Arsenal fan. It's not my job to tell you what Man United want. I'm more focused on Arsenal, this, that, and the other. That's fine. But there's a lot of people watching this show who like football. And there's a lot of people who watch That's Football who like football. And I look at Chelsea as a Man United fan and I'm intrigued. I look at Arsenal and I'm intrigued as to how they can improve. I've been looking at Chelsea since Todd Boehly came in and the billions that have been spent. And it amazes me. You haven't got the money argument because you've spent 100 million on this and 80 million on that. Why didn't they go and get Osimhen when he went to Galatasaray? Why didn't they go and get an experienced striker? And it's really interesting that Man United and Chelsea are battling it out for Liam Delap. And I actually think the winner is the person who misses out and buys a 26-year-old proven striker, because I don't think Liam Delap is going to solve Chelsea's problems next season. And I don't think he's going to solve Man United's problems. And yet they're both battling it out for that. And I think that's symbolic of where Man United and Chelsea are going wrong, is that they're both competing with each other for kids and learners. And Arsenal need a striker. They're not looking at Liam Delap because they need a guy to go in and score goals and be a finished article. And it just amazes me with Chelsea that they haven't spent that money on that striker. And it's glaringly obvious that they need that guy up front because goals win games.
Yeah, I was listening to your show earlier, actually. I had it on. You were talking about how he made I like Delap. I think there's a real talented player in there. And I'm sure you do as well. You think he's talented. You said something that resonated with me, though. And I just thought, yeah. When Charlie Austin first came to the Prem, he scored a lot of goals. There's been a number of players that have been promoted to the Prem and started off really well by scoring goals.
Garlo did it with Watford first season.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. And I thought, I like Delap, and if we get him, I'll support him, and I'll hope it works out. But if he has a drop off year 2, year 3, year 4, Man United, we know we need it. Chelsea need it as well. If both our teams this season had a prolific striker like a Victor Osimhen, Chelsea would have maintained themselves in the title race. Top 4 would be a guarantee. And Man United could be anywhere between 5 to 8 places higher in the league if we'd have got someone who could convert our chances. So it's such an important piece of recruitment to get right.
Yeah, well, it's the finished article, isn't it? You're right. Chelsea would be comfortably in the top 5 if they had that striker now. Arsenal would probably be in a real title race if they had that striker now. Yeah. They probably wouldn't be as stressed as they are about the Bernabeu tomorrow if they had that striker now. So if Man United had that striker now, we wouldn't be where we are. But people seem to want to go for, let's get a guy who might be good in 3 years. Well, football's not got patience for a start. So
I hear that. I mean, Fraser here saying Delap wants 100k a week. Osimhen wants 300,000. What Osimhen has is, I mean, this year 29 goals. Last year 17. The year before that 31. The year before that 18 goals as an example. The year before that 18 goals. Season before that 20 goals. He has consistently scored a high amount of goals. He has 26 goals in 40 international appearances as an example. This man has won Serie A and was one of the best players in the league that year. He just has, when people say, for me, he's worth it. I would rather gamble. Every signing's a gamble to a certain 100%. Degree. Yeah. I think Osimhen, especially as you're talking about a price, you're hearing of 50 to 60 million pounds. He isn't even that much more expensive because you're hearing 40 to 50 for Delap. I don't think it's that big a risk. And he's not even that. I like the age as well. I want to say 26. I could be wrong. He's 26. He'll turn 27 next season. So he's entering his pomp. He's entering the best years of his life. And I'm never, listen, I think there's a sensational player in Victor Osimhen. Yep, you could probably find a compilation of bad touches and bad misses. But he has, I always look at something in a striker, and there's a few in the world that can do it now, where they get, the kids would call it a low XG opportunity or low XG chance. We'd call it a half chance. But it's where there may be a slightly acute angle, might be a defender around them, and they have a shot, and they're able, on a fairly consistent basis, to bury it into the top corner, the far corner, with great accuracy and power, but we've almost degenerated from nothing. And for me, like, we lack that. Like, for our strikers to score goals, they have to almost be sitters. Does that make? They almost have to be harder to miss than score for us to score goals. We need players that can kind of create some of their own, that can score those hard, because those hard, I don't think people realize how important half chances are. How important, how many goals has Salah scored this year where he's had the ball, the right-hand side of the opponent's box, dipped a shoulder turn, whacked it with his left foot and put it into the far corner. If you say 5 or 6, you're probably about right. That may have won them an extra 9 to 10 points. It's those little margins that are so key, I think. Really, really key indeed. Lyle here says, Terry is waffling. There's a reason that he is playing in Turkey.
Yeah, he fell out with the club.
Yeah, he fell out with Napoli. We were in a title race this year. And I think clubs have made a mistake in not paying him the wages, because I think he'd have delivered for Chelsea. We'll soon see in the future, Lyle. If he stays in Turkey for another year, if no big clubs ever buy him, if his career fades out, then fair enough. Maybe you can say you were right, and that'd be fair. But I'm saying I would just give him a chance. Miss Tori here says, keep up the good content. Thank you very much, Tori. Appreciate that. Me, 115 annually for football. I'm soon done. Is that how much they charge you in Norway? I told you guys before, you got to get on my little hack, get a bit of NordVPN, get Satanta Sports, $3.99. It's legal. You're not illegally streaming, $3.99 a month. Change your location. You know what I mean? Get signed up now. That's what I do. $3.99 a month they pay in Moldova. And it isn't just it's every Prem game, every La Liga
you do that
game.
on a VPN, do you?
Yeah. Mate, listen, I'm an EastEnder. I'll always find an angle. You got to find an angle, mate. You got to find an angle.
Well, the thing is, they probably say that is illegal, but to be honest with you, try and get taken to court on that.
Well, it's not illegal. It's against terms of service. So the worst that can happen is they can chop your account down from happening. But it's, again, you've got the BBC iPlayer. It says on their terms that you can't use a VPN to watch the shows. But again, no one's going to. It's not illegal. It's not against the law because you're paying for it. They're just saying you can't watch it when you're not in that country, but I don't care. You know what I mean? It's still $3.99 a month. Even if you have it for a year and they shut it down, look, think about how much money it's going to save you. Like, it's one of them. Comment here I want to put up on the screen. And it says here, it's been 492 days since Arsenal last conceded more than 2 goals in a single match. Up next, the Bernabeu, we're ready. How do you see the game going? A lot of confidence from Arsenal fans ahead of this game. How do you personally see it going, Mark?
I hope they do win, first and foremost, because I think that it would be great to have an English club into the semi-finals, and it might not be Villa. So, and I think that they played so well in the first leg, it would be, it would have to be a big shock tomorrow night. My concerns are, I think that's probably a rare Arsenal fan trying to be a little bit confident. And, sometimes people put the stuff like that on purpose so they'll get a load of clicks if it doesn't work out. But I think, they'll be okay, because I think they're better than Real Madrid. But my big concern is, and it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, and I don't do conspiracy theories, is that this Club World Cup is shit. The format of it's shit. There are a number of clubs that if they win the Champions League, they add credibility to the Club World Cup. I.e., if PSG, Real Madrid, or Bayern or Inter win the Champions League, then they're playing in the Club World Cup. If Barcelona, Villa, or Arsenal win it, they're not. So I do sort of want to play a little bit of a conspiracy game with Arsenal and go, your biggest concern might be what we've had in the past, where, is there going to be a dodgy penalty, a dodgy red card or something like that? I think that's the only thing that can defeat Arsenal. And that might happen in legitimate circumstances, but I'm just here to stir the pot a little bit and say, Arsenal, just beware of the officiating tomorrow, because I think, again, you've got a really good defence and you look like you can cause them problems. So I can't see how you lose by what would have to be 4 goals, wouldn't it? Or penalties.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, they conceded 3 goals against Luton, of all teams, actually, back in about that. That's 492 days ago. I think it's even longer the last time they conceded 3 or more and lost a game, because they obviously won that match. And I don't think Arsenal fans will be that bothered if they win 4-3 tomorrow, if that makes sense. But listen, I think they should be wary of the refereeing and the.
Look at Van Persie against Barcelona.
Van Persie against Barcelona, Man United against Real Madrid with Luis Nani. Even just last season, I'm still flabbergasted that they didn't get a penalty where Manuel Neuer takes out Saka. It's just, and there was people saying that Saka moved into the way of the goalkeeper, and there was a great sort of bird's eye view where you literally see Saka jump out of the way and the goalkeeper put his leg across him, and everyone's like, no, Saka initiated the contact. I'm like, no. The goalie's leg comes out, but you also know that same challenge tomorrow, Raya on Mbappe, is a stonewall penalty. So, as you say, there's these things where I think Arsenal are going to have to still be. They're 3-0 up. They're the favourites to go through. I think that the statisticians have said, based on Arsenal's conceding record, also on the fact that Madrid do concede goals at the moment, there's like a 4% chance that Real Madrid qualify. However, as you say, an early penalty, an early refereeing mistake, an early goal, and that can change. And what doesn't factor in with the maths is then the mentality shift, the noise in the stadium. So I think Arsenal will go through, but I'm really excited about the game because I still think there's going to be a lot of work for Arsenal to do. Does that make sense? It's not a It's not a full goal. It's not like the PSV game where it was done. There was no chance in the second leg you were losing. Arsenal have still got to put in a performance. A top performance is needed, and I'm really, really excited about it. On Real Madrid, though, I do feel like that defeat to Arsenal kind of broke them a little bit. And what I mean by that is, we spoke about this in the Top 6 show, but I really wanted to get your view on this, right? So Felix Diaz has spoken about Carlo Ancelotti will wear his woolly jacket for the second leg, a myth and a talisman, which is considered his lucky cardigan, as an example. Real Madrid Ultras have announced they will do something they've never done before when welcoming the buses to arrive. They're closing the stadium. There's talk that the colour red, unless you're an Arsenal fan, will not be allowed into the stadium because of bad luck. It feels like the team is almost the epitome of Standards FC. They don't do PR. They don't do gimmicks. They don't do nonsense by sort of cheering the buses on or trying to intimidate rivals. That is always meant for the cheesy English clubs. It's just kind of funny how Real Madrid have turned into exactly what they're they often spoke about as being the what's that word for the opposite? Not the dichotomy, not the epitome, the antithesis of cringe and PRFC. Real Madrid seem to be a little broken at the moment, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, look, was it PSG were 4-0 up going to the Nou Camp and they lost? So it can happen. And I think Real Madrid fans have got to believe it can happen, especially in those circumstances and the history they've got in the tournament. It's almost written that Real Madrid will do it tomorrow night. So they've got to believe it. I don't know whether Carlo Ancelotti's woolly jacket's going to help or closing the roof's going to help. But they've got to try. They've got to try everything, haven't they? I mean, I don't know about all the, little gimmicks and stuff, but it's not over. It is not over yet. Like one goal in the first 15 minutes, even one goal just before half time, it's a long night for Arsenal. And that's why I think how they approach it and how Arteta approaches it is really interesting. I think they'd almost be better off not being defensive because they're a good defensive side anyway. Just play the natural game. And if I was Arteta, I'd be like, we've got to score. If we score, we're through. So we can't just be defensive. We've got to score a goal. And if you've got 4 goals, you'd expect to be going through.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think I don't think they'll be too defensive either. I think it will be similar levels of possession to what we saw at the. I've seen a few teams go to the Bernabeu this season and be able to dominate the ball. So yeah, it's going to be such an interesting one. I'm so intrigued by the game because of the scorelines and everything else. This is Chelsea fans, Mark, talking about the game, whether they would want the 5th spot by Arsenal winning it or whether I know it's confirmed now, but they were asked this question, I think, before. It just shows that the hatred fans have for each other. Take a little listen to this.
Champions League spot if him and Arsenal don't win the Champions League this year.
I would. I hate them.
Yeah.
I'll go on a trophy drought for a minute just to see Arsenal in the mud.
100%.
I mean, Chelsea are on a trophy drought, mate. Chelsea. So I got that wrong. It's would they not qualify for the Champions League to see Arsenal not win it? So far, 3 people have said they'd rather finish 6th basically than Arsenal win the Champions League. Let's keep going.
I'd absolutely agree. I'd hate to see Arsenal in the Champions League. They had 1 game against Madrid. You're looking at the rest of it, it's shocking. I honestly back Madrid to even make a comeback.
Real Madrid, 2-0 half-time if you're a gambling person, 4-2 in 90 minutes.
Thing is,
That means they're out, mate. That means they're out.
Oh, caught in 4K there, mate.
God,
yeah. If you're a gambling person, don't listen to him. He's just fucking gone against what he wants. No.
Madness.
I have 2 Champions Leagues, isn't it? But I'm very greedy, so yeah, I think I would give up a Champions League spot. Yeah, they don't need to win nothing. Because Chelsea are the only team in London with a European Cup, man. Sorry.
Yes, I would. I don't think I could take it if Arsenal won the Champions League. I'm sorry, but it's just painful. Oh,
we're the pride of Europe within London, and
100%. Arsenal. I can't stand Arsenal.
I can't have Arsenal winning the Champions League. I can't have that, man. I know too many Arsenal fans.
I always find I get when people say we're the only team with one in London and that there's some prestige in that. I get that argument, but the whole I've got too many friends that support Arsenal, I couldn't take it. Well, over your club having a chance to win it next year, that's the attitude I don't get.
I suppose it's a little bit like if that was asked as Man United fans, would you give up winning the Europa League and getting into the Champions League if it stopped Liverpool winning the Premier League? And I honestly, maybe it's an age thing. Maybe 20 years ago, I'd be voting like them, to be fair, because I think I probably would. But it's a bit like what Spurs did against Man City. And I don't understand that mentality. You've got to stay in your own lane. Like Chelsea are bad and Arsenal are good. What good does it do, Chelsea fans saying, we'll give up our pathway back to success by stopping Arsenal? Like, you're almost a bitch to your owners. Like, that Chelsea's success is surely more important than Arsenal's failure. So for me, I would want to be in the Champions League, forging our own path, because it's not a fan's choice to. I just don't. I don't get that mentality. Well, I do get it, but I don't think it's conducive to your club doing well. It's a sad position to be in, isn't it? Really, you're basically saying we're not very good, so I hope somebody else isn't very good. I
don't want to see any of our rivals win. And yes, I'd rather Arsenal win the league than Liverpool, because I see Liverpool as a bigger rival. But I don't think there's ever been a scenario where I would want something to be damaging to my club. I mean, Chelsea also, by the way, financially, they need Champions League football like you would not believe. I actually think if you really pull back the carpet and looked underneath it, I think Chelsea's financial situation is more precarious than Man United's. Ours is bad. It's they're selling off their assets to remain profitable, but the parent company is in bits. They've got their shirt sponsor for a year. I actually think their need to get it right now. And by the way, if we have 2 more years of not progressing under Ineos, we'll be in that situation. They need that Champions League money like you could not believe. And I just wouldn't put the future of my club on the line for the sake of Arsenal fans online having some fun. And that's the thing I didn't get last year when there was Man United fans saying I'd rather see City do a 4-peat than Arsenal win the league, because Arsenal fans online would be unbearable. I'm like, no, Man City having that historical 4-peat, for me, it's far more painful than Egal or Troops or League Gunner celebrating winning the league title. I can mute them on Twitter. Do you get what I mean? I can mute them. I don't have to see it. It's crazy.
It's also as well, like International's just done a super chat here saying I do it because I don't want Liverpool to match our 20 times. But the trouble is, if you get one wish to stop them, Arsenal are going to have Gyökeres next year. Maybe they'll win it next year. Liverpool might win the title. I mean, I get it, but it's not my job to stop Liverpool winning the league because I've got a vote. Like, the reason Liverpool took off their perch from an impossible position was because Sir Alex Ferguson said he would and built a dynasty. When fans are wishing other teams aren't successful because their clubs aren't run well enough, that's my message. It's like, I'm not going to wish Liverpool don't win the league against United getting into Europe and potentially building their way back, because effectively, if Liverpool are a better run club than Man United, fair play. If Arsenal are a better run club than Chelsea, fair play. As Terry says, I can just turn it off. I don't need to watch all the Pratt Arsenal fans running around telling everyone, they're the best. But if they win the Champions League, they're going to have deserved it. So,
this is the thing. If someone said to me now, Terry, we'll go out of the Europa League, so it means no trophy, no Champions League next year, but it means Liverpool lose their last 6 games and Arsenal win them all, win the league. Would you take it? My answer is no. 1, it means we're not winning a trophy. 2, it means we're not in the Champions League next year, and we have no idea. And rivals will say no chance, and that's fine. You're allowed that opinion. We have no idea how good we're going to be next year. I've seen decent teams, not great teams, decent teams win Champions Leagues. Equally, I'd love the new looking squad under Amorim to start playing Champions League football to help grow and learn as a collective, to learn the tournament together. So hopefully in a year or two's time, we have the ability to win it. I wouldn't put my club's progression and, in our circumstance, trophy winning below. So I wouldn't disregard that to stop a rival winning something. It doesn't make sense. If we were not in the Europa League, already gone out, and someone said, Terry, would you lose your last 3 games of the season to stop Liverpool winning the league? It doesn't change my club's situation. So yes, that's the thing for me. I wouldn't want to damage my own club to stop a rival. That's the one thing I wouldn't do. Dish here says, just came here to see you two are my favorite YouTubers. Even though you are rivals, you guys are the most unbiased of them all. Keep cooking, guys. Thank you.
I wish Man United would.
Yeah. I wish United would. It would be nice, wouldn't it? UEFA will want Arsenal to win. The Club World Cup is run by FIFA, a rival. There won't be any corruption. They're friends, though, aren't they? And
I don't think they're sat. I don't think they're rivals, really.
No, I don't think they are. I didn't think they were, but maybe we got that wrong. We'll see. Got girth. Good for you. Good for you. I wanted to play this for you, Mark, as well before the end. I wanted to get your take on this and the viewers as well. Is this correct or is this bitterness? Let's take a little look.
Elitism in its purest and dirtiest form. If you win the Europa League this season, you go straight into next season's Champions League. You don't even go into the qualifiers, you go into the group stage. And I think that is fundamentally wrong and unfair. And I'm talking specifically about clubs like Brighton and Brentford and Fulham, to start chipping away at that glass ceiling that we know has been there in the Premier League for so long, only to find one of the game's traditional elite clubs has got a route into the Champions League. Tottenham and United have bombed in the league. There should be no reward. It's absolutely wrong. It's a kick in the nuts for teams who are progressing in the Premier League. There's
10 years.
I bet he's fun at parties.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
10 years. I think it's the winner of the, as someone put on Twitter earlier, 10 years or so, the winner of the Europa League or its equivalent have gone into the Champions League. But this season, because Man United and Tottenham have had bad Premier League seasons, suddenly, in his words, it's the dirty side of football and the dirty side of corruption that we would get a Champions League spot. Do you think the timing of this is a little dodgy? I
don't know who it is, actually. I mean, I feel really rude. I know that's Chris Sutton below.
I think it's Ian Ladyman, the journalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a journalist. That's all I wanted to know. Look, I think Man United, as a Man United fan, we're very lucky to be in this position. We deserve to be where we are in the Premier League, and there is no doubt that Brentford, Fulham, Forest, all these teams, Bournemouth, are better than us. Absolutely. And we're very fortunate to be in a position where we can get back into Europe by winning the Europa League and also qualify for the Champions League. And honestly, I would like to win the Europa League, so we're in the Europa League again next year. Like, that would be brilliant compared to what our league form has been. But we won the FA Cup to get into the Europa League, and in the FA Cup, Bournemouth, Brighton, and everyone else was in it. And it's, as you say, for 10 years, you've been able to get into the Champions League. So I actually think this is a bad take, because I actually quite like this. And I'm not a big fan of like UEFA and some of the stuff they do, but I actually thought it was really intelligent. And I was very excited when they did it, when they said that the winner of the Europa League will go straight into the Champions League. Now, considering the amount of shit that goes into the Champions League, qualifiers, etc., one spot for a Europa League winner, I think it's actually good. I really do like it. And fundamentally, in the Premier League, normally Europa League contenders will be your Aston Villas, maybe your Burnleys. Burnley have played in it. So, because the top four are normally in the Champions League. So the only reason Man United and Spurs are getting this opportunity is because they had bad seasons last year, because other clubs had good seasons, like Aston Villa, who took a Champions League spot, or Newcastle the year before. So it's a really bitter bad take, because actually football is elitist. We've had the Super League where they didn't want to have relegation, and giving a Europa League winner a Champions League spot, or a Conference League winner a Europa League spot, allows the winners of those minor tournaments to progress beyond a trophy. So West Ham got in the Europa League, didn't they? Because they won the Conference League. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just because it's Man United and Spurs.
Yeah, without a shadow. I understand. Look, I understand the people that don't like the top 5 teams going into the Champions League from any league, as it's a case of, bloody hell, you come 5th. Are you really like Champions League quality? And there is the potential to say no to that. But as we've mentioned, 10 years they started offering the winner not just instant qualification. And he also says, Ian Ladyman, straight into the group stages. Well, it's always been straight into the group stages. In fact, you've gone into the tier 1 pot in the old group stage element, and it was a reward for, look, I'm not someone that thinks every facet of success in football can only be measured by trophies. I think that is it's too far on the elitist side, and I think it looks at football in a very monolithic way, as if all teams and all clubs have got the same starting point and have the same resources, etc. I don't like that. However, everybody is striving to get to the pinnacle of the game, and that is to be able to win the trophies. And last season, Man United won the oldest and most historic cup competition in the world, the FA Cup, which these, excuse my language, it's on the terrace, these fucking journalists talk about how teams have got to take them more seriously. We took it seriously and won that tournament. That qualifies you for the Europa League. we have taken the Europa League seriously. We may or may not win it. If we do, winning a domestic trophy and then winning the European trophy that you then qualified for through winning it and winning that, and then being rewarded a Champions League spot, that is not corruption. That is reward for success. Now, I understand we haven't been successful in the Premier League this season, but was Ian Ladyman calling for Wigan to have their Europa League spot withdrawn because they won the FA Cup and got relegated in the same season? This is why you know it has nothing to do with corruption or dirtiness. It's some of these journalists just, for one reason or another, I don't know his motivation for it. Their bitterness towards clubs like Man United stinks. But I also think there's an element here, like we said, right at the top. How can we get this pony little podcast that barely anybody's listening to? How can we get it relevant? And we've probably helped them here by doing this.
Well, maybe not.
maybe not. I don't think anyone who's watching this is then going to go and watch that podcast. So I don't think we are helping them.
But it's also, it's arrogant as well. It's very arrogant as well because the winners of the Europa League over the last 10 years, Sevilla have won it 3 times, Eintracht Frankfurt, Atalanta. These are clubs that aren't necessarily going to get in their top, might not even be top 4 in those countries. Maybe it is. So Man United have also played in 2 Europa League finals in the last 10 years. One we lost to Villarreal, who qualified for the Champions League because of it.
And got to a semi-final. We got to a semi-final the next year, I think.
And we beat Ajax. So we're regularly in the Europa League, and it's been going on for a long time. And it's not like Real Madrid, Manchester United, Barcelona are utilising this way to get in the Champions League. I mean, maybe it benefits us, obviously, but I actually think it's a good idea. And, I just think it's just a really, it's a bit like Thierry Henry on Yoro. It's some producer or some chat before where they've gone, this will get us a load of clicks. And actually it will probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's an awful take indeed. Josh here with the members chat. He says, Terry, what is you and Mark's score for the second leg?
I think PSG are going to win tonight, and I think Real Madrid will win tomorrow, but by 1 goal.
I'm doing an Arsenal preview later today, so I'm going to do my Arsenal one then. So you've all got to come back 3:30 straight facts today for that. I actually think Villa are going to win tonight. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa. I think they're going to go out, but I think Villa are going to win 2-1 in 90 minutes tonight and narrowly go out. And what I'm actually hoping for tonight is a little bit more Prince William punditry, because it was very good. He's actually one of the best pundits I heard on TV. And he should be knowledgeable on football. He is the president of the FA, but often, we all know this in England, the royal family have a lot of titles. They're often quite ceremonious, but he actually, for what it's worth, fair play to William, he really did know what he was talking about. It was quite refreshing, actually, to be honest. It was quite, I don't imagine Charles could speak like that about football personally, but that's just me. Look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned into the show today. Mark, always a pleasure to do this show with you, reacting to some of this content. Viewers, during the week, if you see any videos, if you see any clips that you would like us to react to and give our opinions on, DM them into me or Mark if you follow Mark, and we'll get them ready and prepared for the show, because we obviously like the input to come from yourselves as well. You can obviously go and follow Mark on the United Stand. You all know where to find him, who's live 2 p.m. today, right? You're live back at 2 o'clock?
Yeah, previewing the Lyon game live at 2. Yeah,
live at 2. We're back at 3:30 for Straight Facts. So get yourselves back here where we're live with LB and Dan Potts previewing tonight's games, getting their take on all things football. Until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.